The real breaking point came in 2016, during what was supposed to be a triumphant homecoming concert at the White River Amphitheater in Auburn, Washington. Nancy's 16-year-old twin sons had been backstage, and after the show, they asked to see Ann's new tour bus. Ann's husband, Dean Wetter, agreed to take them inside, but warned them to keep the door closed so that the couple's dogs wouldn't escape. But as the boys exited the bus, they left the door open, setting off an explosive reaction from Wetter. According to police reports, Wetter immediately became enraged. He first slapped one of the teens on the head and then punched him in the back of the skull. When the other twin intervened, Wetter grabbed him by the throat and began to choke him, cutting off his air supply. The assault left one of the boys gasping for breath and fearing for his life. The attack was so violent, authorities were called, and Wetter was arrested the same night. He was later charged with 2 counts of fourth-degree assault, one of which was a felony. He pleaded guilty and received a sentence of 2 years of probation, mandatory counseling, and a no-contact order with Nancy's children. While the legal consequences were relatively minor, the emotional fallout was catastrophic. Nancy was horrified by the attack on her sons, but even more shocking was Ann's response. Rather than distancing herself from Wetter, Ann stood by him, insisting that the incident had been blown out of proportion. She believed the matter should have been handled privately within the family instead of being escalated to the authorities. For Nancy, this was the ultimate betrayal. She couldn't understand how her sister could defend someone who had physically attacked her children. Their once tight bond was suddenly severed. A split both personal and professional.
But also what I love about your story is the fact that you're sisters. Now, I have a brother. I love him to pieces. I'm not sure if I could work with him. So
I was waiting for the however comma.
However, the big, but comma.
Yes.
What is it like for you two as sisters? What are the pros of touring and recording together? What are some of the challenges?
It's really rewarding to get out on big stages together because we started as kids. And it was just a natural progression for us to do it for the rest of our lives, basically. But just, navigating and the business part and the family stuff and a lot of that stuff is very challenging. But when you get a chance to just get up and rock and roll, it's really worth all of it.
In the months following the incident, Ann and Nancy barely spoke. They were contractually obligated to finish the remaining tour dates, but for the first time in their career, they operated as 2 completely separate entities. They had different dressing rooms, traveled separately, and communicated only through intermediaries. When the tour ended, they went their separate ways. Ann launched a solo project called The Ann Wilson Thing, releasing an album of covers and performing intimate solo shows. Meanwhile, Nancy Wilson formed Nancy Wilson's Heart, touring with her own lineup of musicians. Beyond the family drama, the sisters were also divided on the future of Heart itself. Ann wanted to push the band forward in new creative directions, experimenting with fresh sounds and concepts. Nancy, on the other hand, preferred to embrace the band's legacy, performing their classic hits in a way that honored their past. Their differing artistic visions had already created some tension before the 2016 incident, but the attack on Nancy's sons turned their disagreement into something far more personal.